guys. So, um, it's currently 2:41 in the morning. My left cheek is very swollen. So, you might hear me talking with a lisp. And you might also hear crinkling sounds from my ice pack. That's what that is. I need to hold the ice pack onto my face so that I can go to sleep properly and not stay up all night. Anyways, alright, so, I know what you all came here for, and that's to see me rank all of the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard albums. Now, I should preface by saying, the first time I ever heard of King Gizzard was in a passing comment made many years ago, where somebody in a video I think I was watching mentioned how some band names were kind of stupid. And they mentioned this band in particular for having kind of a stupid name. And, well, I think I mean, it's fair. Like, you see the name King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, and you think, wow, they must not be, I don't know, good or something. I don't know. Anyways, after that, I sort of forgot about them for a while. Then, recently, I noticed some people in some Discord servers I was in liked listening to this band that I had heard of before called King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. And so just a few days ago, I started on this epic journey of listening to over 12 hours of these albums. Especially because Butterfly 3000 came out very recently. And I was like curious, hey, how does this sound? And I was like, oh, I kind of like this. So I listened to literally every single one of these albums all the way through, with maybe a few exceptions. But because I got a little impatient for some of these, and I'll talk about that in a bit. So let's get started. Hold on, let me put my eyes back down real quick. Alright. So first on the chopping block, by the way, I should mention, it was very hard to find any of these tier lists, like, because I'm using TierMaker, which is like a website. You can find pre-made tier lists for certain things, and of course there were a ton of King Gizzard tier lists, but I could not find a single one that had every album I listened to, including Butterfly 3000, because obviously that one's really recent. Without all the live stuff, I didn't want to include any of the live stuff because I didn't listen to any of the live stuff. I generally shy away from listening to live recordings, just because, I don't know, it's just a watered-down version of the original recording, in my opinion. I know some people find it really appealing, like hearing your favorite band play live, but I don't know, I don't like the ambience. Okay, first up on the chopping block is actually kind of an interesting one. So originally I was thinking this album here, which we'll get to in a bit, was going to be the first one, but I actually couldn't find one that had this album as well as all of the rest of these. This was the only one I could find that had this album, as well as every single one of these. For some reason, I don't know why. I know on the Wikipedia page for King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, it mentions that this here is an EP. Which I don't know if that's fair, because it's basically a full album length. Anyways, I saw this picture and I was like, that's weird, I've never seen that album before. So I looked it up. It turns out this album here is called Anglesey, and it has a total of 4 songs on it. This one is an EP, I can say that for sure. And I'm sure next to none of you have heard of this album, even if you are well versed enough or have listened to some of King Gizzard's stuff. I listened to this album, and I actually listened to all these albums in like reverse chronological order to some extent. So this was the last album I listened to, so it's the freshest in my mind. And it sort of sets the stage for what King Gizzard was supposed to be, or what they originally thought King Gizzard was going to be like. I thought it was alright. It was definitely more of a surf rock type of thing, like a California surf rock type of thing. Even though, of course, these guys are from Australia. Yeah. I mean, they have surfing down there, but no, I'm just saying, like, the very Californian, like, style with, like, heavy reverb, and a very, like, you know, that sort of guitar that you're used to, like electric guitar with the specific, timbre you're used to. It's an okay album. You can definitely tell it's an early Gizzard album. And I don't know. I like Good to Me. I think that's the name of the song. Good to Me. I could look it up, but I don't care. Good to Me is a good song off this album. For the rest of these, by the way, you might not see it, but I'm going to be switching over to Spotify to double check all the song names just to make sure. This one isn't on Spotify, which is why I was like, oh, it's kind of weird. I haven't heard of this one. Anyways, Good to Me. Good to Me is a good song. It's definitely not what I'm used to with King Gizzard, but you know, you can tell the influence later on, maybe, especially in the early stuff. Yeah. Anyways, I think this album is a solid C tier. Like, it wasn't a slog to listen to, but at the same time, it wasn't what I'm used to with King Gizzard, so you can only get so far. Next, so that was Anglesey. Next up is, I'm gonna have to look this album name up again, because really, I'm most familiar with the newer ones. This one's called Wallaby's Beach, I think. Is that right? I need to see this. Hold on. Willoughby's Beach. Sorry, Willoughby's Beach. Yeah. Kind of an interesting album. Art cover. I mean, all of them are, but this one's kind of weird. It's eye-catching. I thought this album was another okay album. I'm gonna look at the track list real quick. Danger Money. Yeah. Black Tooth is alright. And I guess other than that, it was okay. It wasn't a slog to listen to. This is an album, if I were really, really focused on early Gizzard albums, this is an album I would consider high among the early Gizzard albums. Maybe not among the newer ones. So, just because it's like such a classic, well, I shouldn't say classic, just because it's such like a pivotal moment, because I feel like this is them getting into their long form content, really, because Anglesey is kind of very different from any of the rest of this, but this has stuff that carries throughout. I'm gonna give it a B tier. B tier. Solid B tier. Actually, soft B tier. Not solid. I'm not 100% on that. I might move it down to C tier later, depending on what else gets into C and D tier. Next one is 12 Bar Brews. 12 Bar Brews is the name of the album. This was from 2012. The other two are from 2011. And if any of you haven't listened to King Gizzard at all, that might seem surprising that these came so... I mean, they're a 2010s band, basically. All of these albums came out in the 2010s. They released a lot of albums. Like, for most years, except for, I think, 2018. They released at least one or two albums. I think in 2017-ish, they released 5 albums. Which is kind of crazy. Yeah. 2017, they released 5 albums. Yeah. So, 12 Bar Brews. What do I have to say about 12 Bar Brews? Long story short, reminds me of Willoughby's Beach. Except it's a little bit more boring. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I think Elbow and Muckraker are both really good songs. Like, I think Elbow and Muckraker are both better than most songs on Willoughby's Beach. It's just too long. It's just too long of an. I don't know. It's not too long of an album. It's shorter than most of their albums. But it's definitely not shorter than Willoughby's Beach. So, in fact, I think it's 10 minutes longer than Willoughby's Beach. Yeah, 12 minutes longer than Willoughby's Beach. So it just feels like it takes forever. I don't know, but it has a good a few of the songs are pretty good. Like, yeah, Elbow, Muckraker, and I guess 12 Bar Brews, the title song, is pretty good. And other than that, I don't know, it was alright. So I think I'm gonna give it a solid C tier. And I don't think there are any albums from them deserving of F tier. Which is part of the reason why I don't have F tier on here. But also because I didn't feel like adding it. Okay, next one is Eyes Like the Sky. Now this one's interesting if you haven't listened to it at all. Less of an album and more of, I guess, an experience. It's essentially it's like a I don't know how many of you are going to relate to this, but back when every car came with, well, actually, no. I guess cars still do come with CD players. Not all cars nowadays, but anyways, every car came with a CD player, and this was before, like, Bluetooth was popular or whatever. They used to have these CDs. I don't know if they probably still make them, but they're just not as popular anymore, I don't think. They used to have these CDs, which were essentially what audiobooks are now. But you just get a CD of a book, and it would play in the car. And that's essentially what Eyes Like the Sky is. It's a Western story, except with music. A lot of the times the audiobooks would sometimes have music. It's different than audiobooks nowadays. Because audiobooks nowadays are just the book except read out loud. But what I'm talking about with the audiobook CDs is that they a lot of the times added sound effects and songs and whatnot. Just like atmospheric stuff. And that's sort of what this is. And it tells the story of cowboys. I think the Apache tribe as well. This guy gets adopted into the Apache tribe or something. I was listening to this album really, really late. I mean, it's really late right now. It's almost 3 in the morning. Yeah, and there's a guy named Blue. And then there's a guy who's called Eyes Like the Sky, which is what the title is about. And actually, I think one of the stories from here, because this is organized like chapters, even though technically it's not really chapters because, well, it's a very short book if it is chapters. Like a picture book or something, which I don't think this would be a picture book, just given how gritty some of the details are. Anyways, what is my opinion on it? It's alright. It's not really... I mean, it is music, but it's more musical narrative than music. C tier. Next one is Float Along, Fill Your Lungs from 2013. Eyes Like the Sky is also from 2013, by the way, I forgot to mention. Yeah, Float Along, Fill Your Lungs. I don't have much to say about this album. I don't like it very much. Like, it's alright, I guess. Like, Head On Pill is okay. The problem is, Head On Pill is 16 minutes long. And the last time a band put a 16-minute long song onto an album that I listened to was Beach House. And, well, long story short, I don't listen to Beach House anymore. Yeah. This one, when I was mentioning earlier that none of these were a slog to get through, that's because I was alluding to this album. I dislike this album. Not really. I mean, it's alright. It's just early Gizzard, except, like, not good early Gizzard. Like, a lot of these albums have, like, a few songs that I really like, and then some, like, songs, especially from the early days. This one doesn't really have songs that I like. I mean, again, I said Head On Pill, but it's really just too long. It drags on forever and ever. And this sort of feels like an album you'd be like, yeah, let's make an album with your friends. But I don't know. D tier. Oh boy, this one, I don't know, this might be a bit controversial. Oddments. I don't like Oddments. This is from 2014. I don't think King Gizzard got into their groove with Oddments. really not much to say. I just don't like it. It's too much of a spacey, like I mentioned Beach House before. It's sort of like a Beach House album. It's very, very like, I don't know, there's a word to describe it. Not ambient, but like, it's a very trance like album. And I don't like that kind of music. And I think actually one of their most popular songs is on here. And I don't remember what it was. Well, like, I don't remember how it goes at all. Because it's just like in a bunch of mud. Like, you're not gonna, I don't know. It didn't stick out to me as much as a lot of the other songs did. Yeah, dear. Sorry. I know that might make some people mad. I don't actually know how many people watching this are fans of King Gizzard. If you can't tell, I don't really like their early days. But here is where we get interesting. This album is I'm in Your Mind Fuzz. Okay, so this was released in 2014. So this came out the year after Oddments, I think. Right? No, it came out the year of Oddments. Oddments was 2014. This has some good songs on it, but that's not really what I really like about this album. What I like about the album is I can tell King Gizzard is getting into their sort of groove. Like, it feels like, yeah, this is a King Gizzard album for the first time. None of the earlier ones seemed like they were like, and I'm taking this from a perspective of having seen modern Gizzard. Obviously, I'm sure people who were really into early Gizzard will disagree with me on this, but I like I'm in Your Mind Fuzz. It's a good album. If I remember correctly, I think I like Slow Jam 1. I like Empty. Yeah, there are a few good songs on there, but it's mostly the impact that it had. Like, you can tell, like, they're getting into their groove. Like, yeah, this is a good album. I mean, it's a solid album. I don't know if it's on modern day standards, but yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a C tier though. Okay, next one is Quarters, I think. This one suffers a bit from long songs. Suffers from long songs. These songs are all 10 minutes long. 10 minutes, 10 seconds. Which I haven't really done any research into that. I'm sure there's some reason why they're all 10 minutes, 10 seconds. And this was released in 2015, so this is the year after Oddments and I'm in Your Mind Fuzz. It is, I don't know, too much for me. Just like, it's really long. It's really long. I mean, for 4 songs in 40 minutes, it's kind of insane. The River is a good song, but it's too long. God is in the Rhythm is a good song, but it's too long. And then the other two I just forget completely. So yeah, I think this gets a C tier. I'm sorry, this is gonna be weird. I might move I'm in your mind fuzz up to B. I think that's what I'm gonna do. And by the way, these are all fluid. I'm probably gonna change these at some point. Next one is, in my opinion, the first really, really good King Gizzard album. That's Paper Mache Dream Balloon. And the reason I say that is because I don't have all of these albums like favorited on Spotify because that's how I listen to most of my music. But I do have Paper Mache Dream Balloon favorited on Spotify. It's a very clean album, and that's what I like about it. It's like I don't know if I had to describe it. It's like if all of the early Gizzard albums were them sort of under the water. This is like the first gasp of air as they come up. Like it just feels like fresh and new. And it's just really, really good. I don't know. It's just something about it. It's like, it's really clean. I like Sense. Obviously, Sense is probably the most classic song on that album. Trapdoor is pretty good. Yeah. No, it's just a good album. It's just a solid album. And that's what I'd say. It's solid. And it's memorable. Those are the two things that I really, really like about it. Not, like, it doesn't have to be like, every song that I listened to on the album was like some sort of religious experience or something. But yeah. So, Paper Mache Dream Balloon from 2015 gets A tier. And I know I just mentioned, not every song on the album has to be religious. Nonagon Infinity is that album. I love Nonagon Infinity. It's just a really, 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 really good album. Like, I love every song on that album. Minus Mr. Beat. I don't like Mr. Beat that much. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion, but Evil Death Roll. Sorry. Evil Death Roll, Gamma Knife. I mean, Invisible Face is pretty good. Robot Stop is amazing. Big Fig Wasp is alright. And then Road Train, like, people over it, it's just a really good album. Like, even if you don't like King Gizzard, this album is really good. Like, and if the last album was King Gizzard coming up for air for the first time, this is somebody grabbing them by the ankle and pulling them down, except like also showing them Atlantis or something. I don't know. The analogy doesn't really work, but it's 3 a.m. and I don't want to think of anything more clever than that. This is S tier album. Next up is Flying Microtonal Banana. This album's kind of weird. Well, not really. No, it's not weird. It's just more of the same from Nonagon Infinity. But the problem is it's not as good. It's just, honestly, if Nonagon Infinity didn't exist, I would say this album would be my Nana God Infinity. But because Nana God Infinity came out right before this, actually, this was released in 2017. Nana God Infinity was released in 2016. Yeah. So, I like Rattlesnake. Rattlesnake is a good song. Other than that, it wasn't really very memorable. Yeah. B tier. Next up is Murder of the Universe, 2017. So the second album released in 2017. This one has a very specific theme. Altered Beast, New World, blah blah blah. Yeah, it's kind of like Nana God Infinity, except it's better than Microtonal Flying Microtonal Banana. But it's more like Infesting the Rat's Nest, which we'll get to in a bit. It's a weird album for sure. But it's like if Nana God Infinity just went a little bit more experimental. I don't know how to describe it. It's a good album. None of the songs really like pop out to me like, oh yeah, I remember that song. Because like all the songs just like sort of blend together, which isn't a bad thing. I guess minus Vomit Coffin. That one was kind of weird when I was listening to it. But this is a good album, and I think it deserves an A tier. Next one is kind of an oddball. This one is Sketches of Brunswick East. This is a collaboration between King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard and the Mild High Club. I didn't like it very much, and that's all I left to say about it. It was very forgettable, in my opinion. Sketches of Brunswick East. This is also released in 2017. I'm trying to remember if I remember any of these songs. Yeah, not really. No. It's just forgettable. C tier. And then fortunately I'm gonna have to say the same for Polygon Dwanaland. Like, I remember thinking, yeah, this is a pretty alright album. But it's really forgettable for some reason for me. It's an alright album. I will say it's better than Sketches of Brunswick East. It's just, I'm not a huge fan of it. So I'm gonna put it in B tier. Now, here we get to kind of the even more modern, King Gizzard stuff. So this is after, okay, so Gumboot Soup was the last album released in 2017. Gumboot Soup. Gumboot Soup was interesting. I thought it was good. I liked it. And I do remember some of the songs from it. I'm Sleeping In is a good song. I remember Beginner's Luck. Yeah. It's like, early 20th century sort of. It's kind of interesting. But I do like it. Not enough to give it an A tier, though. I don't. Well, maybe. This is another song. This is another album I do have saved. So I might give it an A tier. This one's hard for me. I'm gonna give it a tentative B tier, but with the possibility of moving up to an A tier. Next is Fishing for Fishies. I don't know why, but I get the impression that people don't like this album. It's definitely very different. I mean, okay, this was released in 2019, so coming off the heels of Gumboot Soup. I don't know. It's hard to say. I think it was alright. I mean, sorry, what was I saying? Oh, no. Coming off the heels of Gumboot Soup, maybe this wasn't so far-fetched. But at the same time, I really like this album. Like, genuinely. It feels like, I don't know, a comic relief album. But in a good way. You know, like, when it feels like the comic relief character is somehow better than the main character. Not saying that King Gizzard albums are bad, obviously. I love all these albums. Like, even the ones I put in D tier are still albums that I would happily listen to. Well, maybe not happily, but I would begrudgingly listen to. Yeah. I love Fishing for Fishies. If anybody asks, like, why I like Fishing for Fishies, I'll just start playing Plastic Boogie. Plastic Boogie is such a good song. I also love the Bird song and Boogeyman Sam. They're all just so good. All of these songs are so good. I mean, it's not Nonagon Infinity tier, but it's definitely A tier. Next up is Infest the Rat's Nest. This one, bringing back the analogy from earlier about drowning. If Paper Mache Dream Balloon was a breath of fresh air and Nonagon Infinity was like, you're drowning still, but now you get to see Atlantis. Infest the Rat's Nest is, okay, now I'm gonna just take you to the Marianas Trench. It's frankly an unparalleled album in the Gizzard collection. It is insane. It's actually insane. If you haven't listened to it, I would highly recommend listening to it. It's very good. It's a very good album, which might be surprising coming from me because, I mean, I like Paper Mache Dream Balloon. And I don't know how much, like, the Venn diagram for Paper Mache Dream Balloon and this album is two circles, basically. It's really good. I love this album. It's very different from the rest of King Gizzard's stuff, though, so maybe it might be a hard sell for some people. It's like Nonagon Infinity taken to the next level. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a tentative S tier. Alright, next you get the pair of albums, one of which was released in 2020 and one was released in 2021. You get KG and LW. KG was released first, obviously, because it's King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, right? It's not Lizard Wizard and King. Never mind. I have a tough time differentiating between these two albums, so I'm gonna have to look up which songs are on which. From KG, I like Minimum Brain Size. And that's it, really. I mean, it's a good album. All of the songs are solid, it's just none of them really pop out to me. I mean, I remember a lot of these songs, like Interest Board and Odd Life. I remember those songs. I just don't, I don't know, I don't have a deep connection to them. So, B tier. And then LW, I do remember some of the songs from LW. Is definitely more of an impactful album for me. I really like If Not Now Then When. I really like One Night Everywhere. One Night Everywhere is one of my favorite songs on this album. I like Supreme Ascendancy. And I like the version of KGLW on this album. Maybe not so much on KG. KGLW, yeah, I like it. I'm tempted to give this an S tier, just because it has so many really good songs on it. Yeah, I'll do it, why not? And then Butterfly 3000. Finally, we get to the most recent album. It was released, I think, last week. I do like Butterfly 3000 quite a bit. It's very different. I think my favorite song on the album is Interior People. But Yours and Shanghai are also pretty good. Yeah. But Interior People is probably my favorite on it. It's very similar in its sort of juxtaposition to Paper Mache Dream Balloon. Cause like I mentioned, Paper Mache Dream Balloon came between two albums that are sort of very different. And this one, I have a feeling the next album after this is gonna be, if I were to make a prediction, next album after this is gonna be more along the lines of a Nonagon Infinity than a Fishing for Fishies. But again, I'm not sure. Yeah. So I'm gonna give this one an A tier. And let me see, am I gonna change any of these? No, I think that's good. Alright. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah. I know. I mean, as much as I sounded really not happy about the early albums, I did like them. Like, I would listen to them again. Most of them. But yeah, I mean, a lot of King Gizzard's recent stuff has been really good. They're just, and I'm glad that they're getting popularity. I mean, I'm obviously one of those people who's coming onto them now, compared to however long ago they've been around since 2011. And they're still releasing like 2 albums a year, 3 albums a year. Yeah. Yeah. So, I hope you like that, and I'm gonna go back to nursing my cheeks, which are currently still swollen. Alright, bye.